It started with a feeling. Not a scream, not a smoking gun. Just silence. Saturday afternoons used to be ours. Lazy mornings tangled in bedsheets, her head on my chest, coffee gone cold on the nightstand. We'd wander through farmers' markets, browse old bookshops we'd both pretend to love. We made a life out of small things. But then something shifted. At first, it was subtle. She started saying she needed me time, which, honestly, I respected. We all need space. But it became every Saturday. And always the same line. Don't wait up, I might be late. She was never late before. I remember the first time it really hit me, how quiet the house felt when she wasn't in it. I walked past the hall mirror and didn't recognize the guy looking back. He looked, not lonely, but suspicious. It scared me, how quickly trust can turn into paranoia. So I tried to rationalize. She's stressed, I told myself. The new job, the friends from her yoga class, her sister's drama. Maybe she just needs air. But the lie wasn't in her words. It was in her timing. She always left around noon. Always came back after 10. Never answered her phone between 4 and 7. That window. That was where truth lived. And that's where I started looking. I didn't want to become that guy. You know the one, tracking locations, checking receipts. I told myself love meant believing her. But love also meant paying attention. And what I saw made it impossible not to look closer. One Saturday, I noticed she wore perfume she didn't wear for me anymore. Her makeup was different too, bolder. She claimed she was going to the gym. Who wears red lipstick to the gym? Another time, I checked the mileage on her car. 15 extra miles. The gym was only 4 away. I double-checked her GPS history. Wiped. That had never happened before. So I asked casually, "Where'd you go today?" She blinked. "Gym what?" No reason. Just curious. And I watched her eyes do something they hadn't done in years. They darted. Just for a second. But it was enough. That night, I sat in the living room after she fell asleep, the hum of her breathing from down the hall. I stared at our wedding photo on the mantel. Her eyes were bright back then, wide open, facing me. I used to think we were staring into the same future. I was wrong. I didn't confront her. I couldn't, not without proof. And the truth is, I didn't want to break what was left unless I had to. So I called a lawyer. Not to file, just to talk. His name was Bill, a friend of a friend. Gray-haired, direct, and strangely kind. He didn't push. He just listened. Then he asked me one question. "How long have you known?" I paused. "I don't. I suspect. But I'm not sure." He nodded slowly. "That's what most of them say at first." Most of them. That phrase stuck with me. Bill gave me the name of a private investigator. A quiet guy. No trench coat. No drama. Just results. We met once in a diner. I handed him a photo and a schedule. He nodded, asked a few questions, and told me he'd be in touch. 3 weeks passed. I didn't hear a word. Life continued like a slow-motion movie. She laughed at my jokes, kissed me goodnight, sent me random texts like nothing was wrong. And maybe for her, nothing was. But for me, everything had cracked. Then one Thursday afternoon, I got the envelope. No return address. Just a thick yellow packet slid under my office door. Inside were photos. Her. A man. A black SUV. A hand on her waist. His lips on her neck. One photo caught her smile. Wide. Unburdened. The way she hadn't smiled around me in months. I stared at that photo the longest. It wasn't the kiss that killed me. It was the smile. That was the part of her I thought was mine. I guess it hadn't been for a while. There were timestamps, too. Saturdays. Between 4 and 7. Every single time. That weekend, she told me she was going to a spa. I nodded, kissed her cheek, and watched her drive away. But she didn't know I'd already been there. Not to the spa, but to the truth. I didn't follow her. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I sat in the kitchen, poured a glass of wine, and called Bill. "Let's move forward," I said. "Are you sure?" he asked. I was sure 3 Saturdays ago. I just needed to see it. By Monday, the papers were drawn. Clean. Precise. No fanfare. Just facts. She'd never touched the joint accounts. I made sure of that early on. She thought I didn't notice the Saturdays. I did. And so did my lawyer. Now, it was just a matter of timing. Letting her walk herself into a conversation she didn't know was coming. Because the truth? I wasn't looking for revenge. I wasn't planning a speech. I just wanted to see her face when the facade fell away. When she realized I wasn't asking questions anymore. I was giving answers. And the first one would be my signature on those papers. I waited a week. Every instinct in me said to act immediately, to put the papers in her hand the moment she stepped through the door. But I didn't, because I needed clarity, not just anger. I needed to be sure that when I walked away, I wasn't dragging any part of me behind. And I needed to know what she would do if she thought I still trusted her. That next Saturday, I made her breakfast. Eggs, avocado toast, the smoothie she liked with almond butter and cinnamon. She looked at the plate like it was a love letter. "You're sweet," she said, kissing my cheek. "But you didn't have to do all this." I smiled. "You're always so busy on Saturdays. I figured I'd catch you before the day stole you away again." She laughed. "I'm not that busy." But her eyes said otherwise. At 11:48 a.m., she got the first text. Her hand tightened around her phone. She tilted it away from me, the screen flashing once in the reflection of her spoon. I didn't need to see the name. I'd seen the photos. I knew the car. The cologne I smelled faintly on her jacket when she got home late. At 12:07, she grabbed her bag, the same one she always took on Saturdays. I watched her throw in her water bottle, charger, and a pack of gum, like she was going to a movie or the mall. Casual, relaxed, a seasoned liar. "I'll be back before dinner," she said, voice light. "Don't wait up if I'm late." "I won't," I said. The door clicked shut. Silence returned. I sat at the kitchen table and reread the documents. Not to edit them, just to remind myself they were real. After years of building a life together, all it took was a handful of signatures to unbuild it. I thought about our first date, the movie we never finished because we stayed in the car talking for hours. I thought about the way she used to trace circles on my wrist when we held hands, like it was her way of writing her name into my skin. And now? Now she was someone else. Or maybe she always had been, and I just didn't want to see it. That night, when she came home, I was already in bed, the envelope waiting on her pillow. She didn't open it right away. She stood there in the dark, holding it like it might explode. "What's this?" she asked. "Open it," I said, my voice flat. She flipped the clasp, unfolded the first page. Her eyes moved across the lines. I didn't say a word. I let the silence do the work. When she reached the second page, her hands began to shake. "Is this a joke?" "No," I said. "It's real." She looked up at me, eyes wide. Not with guilt, but fear. Not of losing me, but of losing the illusion. "I don't understand," she whispered. I laughed once quietly. "That's the one lie I won't let you tell." She sat down on the edge of the bed. "If this is about work, about me being busy, it's not what you think. I think you've been sleeping with someone else every Saturday afternoon for the past 3 months, I said. "Is that wrong?" She didn't answer. "I know his name. I know his license plate. I know what hotel you've been using." Her mouth opened, then closed. I continued, calmly, "And I know this isn't new. I know it didn't start with a mistake. It started with a choice. A series of them. One lie at a time." Tears welled in her eyes. "I can explain." "Don't," I said, my voice steady. "This isn't a conversation. This is a conclusion." She shook her head, whispering, "But we can fix it." "No," I said. "We can't. You already decided that when you stopped choosing us." She covered her face with her hands. And for a moment, she looked smaller than I'd ever seen her. "Why didn't you say something sooner?" she asked. "Because I wanted to see if you'd come clean on your own." She didn't respond. I stood and handed her a second envelope, this one thinner. "This is from my lawyer. It outlines the division of assets. I'm not fighting you for anything. I just want out." She took it, silent. "You can stay here tonight," I said. "Tomorrow I'll go to a hotel for a few days so you can figure out your next steps." She nodded, barely. I walked toward the door, then paused. "By the way," I said, turning back, "the papers? They're already signed. All they need is yours." And then I left her there, in the dim room, in the silence she had created. The morning sunlight hit the walls like nothing had changed. Same curtains, same coffee maker, same quiet. But everything was different. I stood in the hotel bathroom, watching the steam rise from the sink, my toothbrush hanging lazily from the corner of my mouth. I'd barely slept. Not from regret, but from the weight of finality. It's strange how a truth you've known for months can still feel heavier once it's spoken aloud. By noon, she texted, "Can we talk? Please." I stared at the screen. The word, "please," looked unfamiliar coming from her. Too small. Too late. But I drove home. The moment I stepped through the door, she stood up from the couch, still in the clothes she'd worn the night before. Her eyes were puffy, rimmed with red. In her hands, the divorce papers, now signed. I didn't expect this, she said softly. I raised an eyebrow. You didn't expect to be caught? She winced. I didn't expect you to be the one who left. That stung more than it should have. Not because she was right, but because it told me everything I needed to know. She thought I would endure this forever. That my love for her made me permanent. Passive. Powerless. I know I messed up, she whispered. But it wasn't about him. It wasn't even about the affair. I was empty. I didn't know how to tell you that. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. So you filled the emptiness by disappearing every weekend? Lying to me? Letting me cook you breakfast while you planned to be in someone else's arms? She looked away, guilt dragging her shoulders down. I was selfish. I nodded. Yes, you were. A long silence stretched between us. Then she asked, was there someone else for you? That almost made me laugh. The irony. No, I said. There was only ever you. Right up until I realized you weren't there anymore. She walked toward me then, slow, tentative, like I was a wounded animal she wasn't sure would bite or break. If I said I wanted to fix it, I stopped her right there. This isn't a movie. There's no montage for this. You chose the cracks. You chose him. You chose the lie, every Saturday. You just didn't expect me to stop pretending I didn't see it. Her lip trembled. You were always so calm. I thought I could come back from it. That was your mistake, I said. You mistook calm for weakness, silence for blindness. I walked past her and picked up my bag. The same bag I used when we first moved into this house, 5 years ago. The zippers were stiffer now. Everything was. At the door, I paused. You know what hurts the most? She looked up. It's not the cheating. It's that I gave you every part of me, and you treated it like it was disposable. She reached out, but I stepped back. You thought I didn't notice. But I did. And so did my lawyer. And now, so do you. I opened the door. I hope someday you understand what you lost. And I meant that. Not as a threat, not as a punishment, but as a truth. I drove away without looking back. It's been 6 months now. I've moved into a smaller place. Started running again. I picked up a weekend woodworking class, something I always said I'd try once life slowed down. Life did more than slow. It cracked, split open, and revealed a version of me I never knew existed. People ask if I'm angry. I'm not. I'm just clear. I see things for what they are now. I see love not as blind loyalty, but as something you fight to protect, and sometimes you fight by walking away. There are still Saturdays, of course. They're quiet again. But now, that quiet feels like peace. She thought I didn't notice. I did. And I healed anyway.